Okay, everybody, welcome to the Hurdyburg Internet Broadcast Network, located in the state of the art studios right here in Round Rock, Texas. Tonight I'm with Randy Starr, and that's Starr from Allstarr Pest Control. And we'll give you all that information, man, bring them in, but prove you're here, say hi.
Hello.
And Randy, tonight we're going to talk bugs. We've got really, for those of you that are going to be tuning in and listening live tonight, you're actually going to get a good education. And since it is spring, and since this is when all those critters come out that have been hiding all winter, right? All the
Correct.
rain we've had, all the moisture in the ground. This is just, I've even seen crickets already, and we'll talk about that later. And this is a little bit too early. So, anyhow, you guys, thanks for listening to the Hurdyburg Internet Broadcast Network. What we do is I have an exclusive sponsor, CPR Cell Phone Repair. They are our exclusive sponsor every Tuesday night for the rest of the year. But what that does is it allows me to bring on small business in Austin, and they come on for free, and we talk about their business. And then, as a caveat, at the end of the show, I go back and not only is it on YouTube, but I build the small business guest their own custom player that has links to their website that they can post forever and ever because I host it. So you'll have this nice player with colors that match your website. You'll have links to share on Facebook, so you'll get to be famous and elegant.
Get to share it everywhere.
You get to share it. Share it everywhere. I
Go.
like that. Maybe that should be a tagline for
Go.
somebody in social network, right? All right, guys. So anyhow, I want to thank our sponsor. Let's talk about them, CPR Cell Phone Repair. They are located at La Frontera in Round Rock, Texas. And they are amazing. If you get a chance to go look them up on their website, it's cellphonerepair.com, cellphonerepair.com. Cracked screens, battery problems, screens that go blank and don't work, phones that overheat, phones that were dropped, iPads, iPhones, tablets, you name it, they can fix it. All right. So if you are trying to look through that cracked screen on your phone that you haven't fixed in a year because you're too busy or can't get to it, go by CPR Cell Phone Repair in Round Rock at La Frontera. They're awesome. They got high ratings on Yelp, Google Plus. They take care of their clients, and generally, if it's something pretty easy, they can have you in and out in a couple hours. It's not waiting 3 or 4 days, unless it's some special part that has to be ordered. That takes a while to get in. So go check out CPR Cell Phone Repair in Round Rock, and their website again is cellphonerepair.com. Go check them out. And thanks, guys. We want to give our sponsors a big round of applause. Now, Randy, are you a Texas guy?
I've been in Texas all my life.
I have, yes. So born and raised.
El Paso, honestly.
Okay, so West Texas. Very far West Texas.
Very far west.
650 miles from here, West Texas.
No further west.
You can't go to your New Mexico.
Nope.
That's right. Okay, but how long have you been in this area?
We moved here in 99, so we're looking at 15, 16 years.
And you have been in the pest control business with your family-owned company for how long?
Oh, gosh. My dad got involved when he was in the early 60s.
So it's been like over 30, 40
years. I grew
years.
up doing it. That's all I know.
That's all you know, right? And I mean, you're an expert in your field, and I can't wait to get into some of the things you're starting to see come around and what you do to treat them. But I always have some fun questions for my guests. I kind of throw some odd ones at them to see how they answer. So you're on the spot, okay? So I always start with this one because I like it. Favorite color? If you had a color you really loved, what is it?
Oh boy, red.
Red. Okay, bright red.
Bright fire
not
engine.
can't fire,
Fire engine red.
And we're going to talk about that tonight. Okay. Do you remember the last concert you went to?
Oh, I would say Kenny Rogers. That was back in, oh gosh, 97.
Now, did you? Yeah, that's been a while.
A long time ago.
Yeah, but he was fun to watch. I
crazy.
almost forgot about him.
Crazy.
You said it. He is, but he's good. Did you watch
good.
the AMA Awards the other night? Man, that was huge.
Yeah, I've heard about
Doggone it. I watched that whole thing, and I'm okay country fan, but just that 50-year in that Texas, AT&T Center up, that was cool.
It's big.
That
AT&T, I've driven by it.
But the fact that, it's just, it was a really good show. If they ever repeat it or you can get it on your TiVo or somebody's got it, you should get a copy. But anyhow, we are going to talk bugs tonight, and the reason we are is because we're in the spring. And this is, winter has its share of pests we have to deal with, but in the spring, now you've got everything coming out of the woodwork. Literally, the ground, the woodwork, the air. So we've got a lot to talk about. But before we get started, Randy, let's go ahead and give them your website, because a lot of people that are coming in on the archive show, we'll have a link to it under the player, of course, but it is
allstarpest.com.
And Allstarr has the
two
word
R's.
2 R's. So it's Allstarr, Starr, pest.com.
Correct.
And so don't forget to leave that star up, and we'll post that link underneath the show. All right, Randy, so let's dive into the bug issue. Pest control. I was thinking the other day when you said you wanted to be on the show, and I got home and was thinking about the show the other night, and I said, imagine a world where we had no pest control, what it would look like.
It would not be enjoyable.
No, I mean, I'm just saying that people are so worried about, the chemicals and stuff we use, and there's a lot of organic now. The technology's really changed. But my point is people don't realize how overrun we would be as a society. Oh, I know that, but the fact that there would be no control would be crazy.
And it would be. It gets way out of hand quick sometimes.
And even your treating, it gets out of hand sometimes. All right, so I have a bunch of stuff, but the first thing I want to dive into, because you're seeing more and more of this, and it's just hard to believe that today we're talking about bed bugs.
Correct.
And what is the deal?
Well, back in the late 60s, early 70s, we actually eliminated bed bug problems in America. We had closed borders, we had chlordane, DDT, we had all these chemicals.
The big ones, yeah.
Yes. And it worked extremely well, and we were able to eliminate. I mean, it was unheard of. You'd see a case here or there,
right? But not rampant.
Not rampant. Now, with open borders,
air travel
all over the world, air travel, they are showing up not just in hotels, cruise ships, aircraft. You can go to the movies and sit in a chair with somebody that had them, and you can bring them home. But people get real nervous about them. But like I like to tell people, I'm in there. I hug these mattresses with bed bugs, move them around, treat them, and I've never had bed bugs. It's just using a little common sense. I mean, anybody can get them, but just be a little cautious.
Yeah, and so are they? And I guess what I'm saying is, are they limited to beds, or is that just what they call them? I mean, they can get on couches, they can get on sofas, but it's mainly bed, right?
Beds, box springs. They get
all that part.
They'll get into the headboards. They'll get cracks in the walls behind the outlets. I mean, in the carpet fibers behind the popcorn.
They go
ceilings.
crazy.
It depends on the extent of your infestation.
And what are the classic signs?
Well, first thing is you start itching and you can't figure out why. Oh, okay. You wake up. You start looking at your bed. You can see little tiny blood spots, basically, from them feeding. You can also after about a month into having bed bugs, a small infestation, within a month, they're just rampant. I mean, you'll pull the sheet back, boom, there they are.
And you can see them.
You'll see them.
So they're not microscopic.
Not the adults, no.
Right. They're and the color of them.
Have you ever gone out in a county field and run into and get those little black seed ticks on you?
So that's what it looks like.
They're almost identical to that, except they're reddish brown instead of black. So
it's not ticks you're dealing with.
Now that's a full size adult.
That's a full size adult, right? And so, wow. And so they bite you.
They do feed on human blood.
And so you get whelps.
You get whelps. When you look on the internet, they say they always leave it in a line. They pick up, move, stab.
Kind of like a sugar man.
But when you have a heavy infestation, you're not going to see the line of them.
Right, you're just going to see bites on you and itching, and that's just terrible. And you have invested. I know you went all the way not too long ago, California.
June or July of last year.
Yeah, you went to California, and you invested a lot of money. Yeah. You don't tell me how much, but you went and bought the top of the line equipment to treat these things, correct?
Correct.
And you drove all the way back here because the problem's gotten so big.
Well, what we're running into is when they first came out, we were finding out some of the chemicals were working on them. But you're very limited. I mean, you don't want to go and spray chemicals all over.
No, because you might have people
I don't
living
care
there.
if it's permethrin or some of the so-called safer chemicals.
Right.
But they do have some alcohol-based chemicals, things you can spray on a bed that are safer. But what we started noticing is with the breeding habits of them and how fast they reproduce, they become immune to these chemicals so quick that we're not coming out with chemicals fast enough to replace the ones that become immune to
And
it.
so they just keep going.
They keep going, and a lot of chemicals can work as repellents and chase them deeper into a wall even. And those are some of the things we run into. They did come out with a chemical. It's a natural one. It's a neem oil. Honestly, works extremely well. It does help with the eggs. The problems that we run into with it is it has an odor that will not go away for over a month.
So
And
you're
it's a
stuck. You're
strong
stuck
odor.
with the solvent.
Do you want the bed bug bites, or do you want this nasty
solvent
odor? Yeah, solvent odor.
that goes with it? Right. You had spoken to a group of people that I happen to be listening in on, and that group of people, you were telling us that these things are best treated by heat.
Heat is the number one.
And so you have
method.
to do what? How would you treat
Well,
them?
basically what it is we have a little checkoff list. Unlike chemicals, you have to remove a whole lot of things. From clothing, you have to wash them. I mean, you almost move out of your house.
Right.
Okay, not quite, but almost.
Yep.
In some cases, you'll be recommended to throw your box springs or your mattresses away with chemical treatments, depending on how heavy the infestation is.
Right.
With heat, nothing has to be thrown away. With heat, very little prep. You have to use on the checklist. It's common sense things. Get your candles out of the house, lipsticks.
Anything that can melt, because you're going to heat the house up.
Right. The recommended heat is 120 degrees for 3 hours.
Yeah. So if you've been sat in the sauna,
yeah, it gets very hot.
You don't realize how you couldn't sustain very long.
Right. And most air in the house is about 140 to 160. So you can get the 120 in the internal walls inside the mattress.
Yeah, so the heat spreads out and gets into the cracks and the vents and everything else.
And then you make sure that you hold it. Once you get the desired temperature, you have to hold it. Then you go back in and you open drawers, you flip mattresses, and that's when you still see some, and you attack those areas extremely hard.
So this isn't like on Breaking Bad where they tended the house, right?
Nothing like that. Now, they do that too for bed bugs, which is an overkill.
Okay, right. But you can heat up by sealing off a house.
Right, and it's usually a one-day process. I mean, if you get into efficiency,
people won't be there while you do it, right?
They're welcome to be. They can't stay in the house.
No, exactly.
We're on a timer when we walk in. You got 4 to 5 minutes to do what you need to, and you got to get out.
And then how long does that process? How long do you keep it heated up at that level before you feel comfortable that it's been taken care of?
The worst case scenario to kill the eggs and everything is 3 hours at 120.
Okay.
Laser printer, laser tester. They have probes that you can stick in the house and stay outside and watch. I don't like them because they make it a little lazy. You don't want to go in that heat.
Yeah.
But when you go in the heat and start flipping them, you start noticing the harborage areas that you can pay special attention to. And at that point, what happens is you hold the heat for a total of 3 hours. I go back in, every 15 to 30 minutes, I'm walking in and moving things, moving my fans, making sure the heat's getting where it needs to.
It's going to have a problem.
Organism, it's not going to survive.
Right.
And we just go in there and we hold the heat for 3 hours, and I do a final check. And right before I walk out, we crank the heat up to about 180, 190 coming out at the end. We got special gloves, we tube up, and we hit the mattress. So, the very obvious.
So then you come back in with you just go over those areas.
You hit them extra hard just to be sure that
you be sure.
Yeah. And honestly, so far with the heat, we've had no reoccurrence.
That's awesome.
It's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
It's just totally unbelievable. We used to spend it and have to go out 2 weeks later with chemicals, hit them again because the eggs hatch, and then another 2 weeks to do it again. It was an ongoing issue for 2 to 3 treatments if everything went properly.
Right.
And each time the customer had to remove things, wash clothes, do this, there was a big list. And with the heat, it's very little work for the customer in comparison to chemical. And honestly, there's very little to no chemical used.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's just and I mean, you'll get more dead than bed bugs. I mean, I've cleaned out roach populations with it after bed bugs.
Right, just because of the heat, and it just tears them up, and they have nowhere to go.
I've even had mice run out from under refrigerators when I'm heating.
Right, because everything that's been hiding can't stand the heat. Right. Okay, and so if somebody thinks they have bed bugs, they can go to your website, Allstarr, that's ALLSTARR pest.com,
Right.
and give you a call, set up a time to meet with you. If they're not sure, they can call you, go look, do an inspection, which is
Well,
pretty
it's
much
mandatory.
which is mandatory for pest control, and that is to call me
ID.
out and let me look around.
Right. What we'll do is we'll go out, we'll take a look at the house. If we do ID bed bugs, which is not hard to do, we'll sit down with you because one of the biggest failure rates, whether it's heat or chemical, irregardless, is companies will go out and do a treatment and they don't explain the precautionary stuff. How did you get it? If you don't know how you get it, guess what? Within 2 weeks to a month
could be
after,
back.
whether it's heat or chemical, don't matter. You're going to bring them right
If you're
back
going
in.
somewhere else and bringing
Right.
them back in, that you're consistently
And
bringing
there's
them.
common, so common things.
Right.
You know, and we sit down and it's usually about a 30, 45-minute meeting figuring out, first of all, how did you get them? Maybe even more important than the actual treatment.
Right. All right. So let's move on from that.
Okay.
I have a dog, but I also have a big backyard, and I have thick grass, and we've had a lot of rain. So we obviously know that we're going to see flea populations pick up and tick.
Already have.
And so a dog takes preventative things like Frontline and his heartworm pill to eliminate mosquitoes and that. But do you do full yard treatments where you actually with a Precor type of chemical that kills
funny
not
you
only
say Precor, yeah. Precor is one of the number one that we do use indoor. They
because
have a Precor outdoor.
people don't understand that kills the live ones and keeps the eggs. They die as soon as they hatch the eggs.
Right.
If you don't, they'll multiply. Right.
Just like bed bugs, boy. They're just an outside issue. Bed bugs are an inside issue.
Right. Right. And so, but you can spray full treatments, tanks. Kills, some.
Yeah, mainly targeted at the fleas when we do a flea or fleas and ticks.
Right.
It's mainly targeted at them. There are precautionary things on the checklist that you do before, just like bed bugs or anything else. It's a prep sheet. I mean, you want to have your grass cut short and not manicured, but cut.
Yeah. So
and the tall grass against the building weed eated.
Right.
Things of that type, because it allows us to get the chemical down into the soil where we need it.
Right, and it lasts a long time. Not a long time, but I mean, it does its job. It does its job till it needs to, until you want to come back and do a maintenance.
And a lot of it depends on the surroundings.
And I was going to say, most people that have yards that want to keep this under control should consider a maintenance program, because you do want to come back and treat that different times. Once that chemical wears off, bugs will come.
But a free thing of a little information. Well, when I first get a call on fleas and or ticks, usually it's fleas. We'll go out there and inspect it, and I'll say that they have cat or dog or whatever. And the first thing I'll ask the customer, well, before you spend the money doing this, is your dog on a treatment? It's like, oh yeah. Well, what are you using? Oh, we go to the store and we get this shampoo.
No,
the shampoos. Some of the bottles of the shampoo will say last 30, 60 days.
No.
They don't.
No, a dog needs. I'm just going to tell you,
the vet.
They need a front line that when it gets into their system and a flea bites them, it bites them and it dies. And the same with ticks. Same with ticks. Right.
And a lot of times I'll say, well, since you don't do that, why don't you try that first? Let me talk to you in a week.
Right.
And after they get it, I wait a week. I'll call them back and say, how's your fleas? 9 times out of 10, I don't even have to do a treatment.
Right, because the
dog itself
was the carrier.
Right,
exactly, because he killed them after they bit
because the fleas prefer animals, humans.
That's right.
Take the animal out, yes, they will bite the human.
Yeah. Okay. So, fire ants. Do you nest is? We've had a lot of rain, and I'm seeing more fire ant mounds right now.
And it looks
like
it's like you can go mountain climbing on some of them. And that's pretty common after a rain.
Right.
Again, maintenance service does work extremely well on them. We've got a lot of baits. There's some baits that honestly, when it comes to fire ants, work extremely well on fire ants, but won't kill a carpenter ant.
Right.
They're targeted at particular things, and target baits are extremely well. Most of your baits, whether it's over the counter or stuff that we use, when the ground's moist or when it's raining, because it almost immediately kills it.
Yeah, it makes
so you gotta
watch the weather. Yeah.
Right.
And so and let people know. A lot of people are confused. They've heard them as wood ants, carpenter ants. I know you're going to tell me this, but I know that carpenters piles where they start making their
Hmm.
little chews around windowsills and stuff. But
Right.
the best thing you can do is
Well, you got to call a professional.
trim those trees.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, you're going
Yeah.
down there. On the preventative side, always keep your shrubs and trees trimmed. You'll hear a lot of things, whether it's internet or even pest control companies are trying to say, trim them back so squirrels, rats,
Right.
um,
Can't come in.
can't get in. Well, I'm sorry, but some of those things can jump.
And they can crawl up walls.
Right, so we have to work around it. Now, no, you do not want the tree limbs to where the wind blows and it touches because the carpenter ants can very easily gain access
Right.
that way. So you want them trimmed back.
And they're a bigger ant, and they may not look that, but they're bigger.
They're
Right.
one of the larger ants. There is an offspring of one called the acrobat, which is a type,
Right.
and it's a normal size ant.
Right.
And we're seeing more of those nowadays.
Unbelievable. And
Yeah.
you're seeing this new ant called the crazy ant.
Yeah, and they live up to their name.
Right. But I mean, they're hard to treat.
Extremely hard to treat, even for professionals.
And so, you guys that have fire ants or carpenter ants and all this stuff, you have to understand carpenter ants are weird because they get in the walls.
Right.
And so I imagine treatment is probably dusting through light switch sockets.
Again,
and
a lot of it depends
outside.
where you're seeing
It depends where you're
Yeah.
seeing them because you might just catch them where they're coming in.
Well,
and
and sometimes it's simple. Most of the time, by the time we get calls, it's more of a severe case. And sometimes we have to do attic treatment. Sometimes we can do a perimeter treatment. Sometimes we'll see and find the main nest out in a tree
Right.
or a dead tree limb or a stump. And we can use certain baits, throw out there, and they'll take the baits back and wipe them out themselves. Sometimes that won't
And
work.
that's what it sometimes does, sometimes it doesn't. But at least if there's source and taking it back, that's a good thing.
Right.
And
you will actually watch them pick this bait up and take it.
And
right
it's kind of cool to watch.
It is.
Yeah. So, okay. So, and you listeners out there can go, come on, tell us what it is. But you've seen them. They're around your kitchen sink.
Mm-hmm.
They're little teeny tiny. You'll sometimes see them around your toothpaste. And you see them in your bathroom, and they don't go away. You kill them, and they get bigger and stronger. I mean, more of them come. They're called a pharaoh ant.
Right. And there's two types of them that we have that are out.
Yeah.
One of them is a very clear one, and that's the true pharaoh ant.
Right.
And they have another one that has hit Austin probably real heavy about 8-9 years ago. And it looks just like the pharaoh ant, except they're dark black.
They're dark black. Right.
And they're just as tiny and just
and
as
they just is in there and getting in your sugar.
The reason that they're so hard to kill is they're either grease feeding or sugar feeding.
Right.
And sometimes they'll actually switch within days.
Right.
They'll love sugar one day and then walk right around the sugar and go
to the grease.
grease.
Just depends on.
Right. And there's two particular baits that we use, and you have to go in. And the one thing that's the biggest mistake is people, including some professionals, will go in and use an insecticide. Well, when they start dying, they set off an alarm pheromone, and pharaoh ants are one of the few ants that will split a colony in half, form a new queen. Now you have two. Then you spray again because they come back. Now you got 4.
So what I was trying to tell people was, and I'm glad you said it was, everybody's treated pharaoh ants knows that if you kill one, you just set yourself up for a worse problem. You got to bait them and make them take it back to put them in the trail. Just put a dab, right?
Or you put it next to a trail.
Put it next to it, let them find it and take it back and let them wipe themselves out. Don't
and they
kill
live
them.
Within about, usually 4 or 5
days.
Yeah,
you got it's a process. You know, just be aware you're putting the bait somewhere where they'll find it and take it back, right? So so there's your pesky ants that we deal with. This is an interesting topic. Has nothing to do with pest control, but it is kind of pest control. And they did and I was intrigued by this, and that is there is a fly that fire ants can't stand.
Correct.
And they tried using this fly down in a Texas county, and apparently it was really effective, but cold weather kind of wiped them out one time. So I guess, are they still in the process of using this fly to go after these fire ants?
Under testing right now. It's like fire ants are not a native to America.
Right.
They were brought over, and I forget what they were brought over to kill, but they were brought over for a particular reason.
Yep.
Well, now they're spreading, and they're here to stay.
Right.
The fly, the government, and this is a good thing, they're like, okay, well, great. These things will wipe out.
No.
What's this ant going to do in the future? How's it going to spread?
It'll adjust.
They learn. You got to put it through a lot of testing to see what's going to happen.
Right. But I know they sting it. They get on its back, on its thorax, on its head. It lays its egg into the fire ant. It explodes it, breaks it in half, and then
when the young
but they're terrified of this thing. They showed when you introduced them to it, they were freaking out.
Yeah, they did.
They lost total control of their colony. They knew that they were a death threat to them.
It's a very good thing for fire ants. We just got to wait and see exactly what other
and how to use them and how to get them
was.
loose and let them go do their thing. Right. I just thought that'd be an interesting topic.
It's interesting. There's other insects that.
See, bugs are pretty amazing, y'all.
They really are.
You know,
if you really get into studying them, they're really interesting.
All right, so we're coming into, and I hate to say this, but we've had some pretty warm days.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some good moisture, and I swear to you, I took the dog crickets.
Yeah, they were actually here early this year.
Already.
Mm-hmm. And if any of y'all lived in Austin for any length of time, you've gone at night to HEBs or grocery
They're just all over
CVS,
the place.
Any place with those large parking lights. And during cricket season, for a 2-week period, unless we get another rain towards that end, then it'll be another 2 weeks. You got these massive cricket around lights. I mean, you can't even walk without stepping on them. Cars running over. Yep. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
And there is not a quick fix for it.
No, you have to just keep working on them, picking them up and throw them away.
Right. And for homeowners, this works real well. Is you go down to the store. Don't get the thing called a bug light because it's like 3 times the cost. Go down and just get a yellow light, plain yellow light, and put the bulb in your outside lights. And it does not put off the UV lighting that
attracts them. So
and you will see
that's good to know.
And that's a very easy, simple thing. Pre-baiting for them when you
go buy a bunch of a bunch of lizards.
Well, that would work if it's didn't have a lizard population.
Right. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that goes back to our little ant thing.
Right. All right. So tell me about how the pest control has evolved. I know that chemicals have slowly been disbanded, like chloroform can't be used any longer. It's been a long time out of use. I think the Duraspan TC that was used is now been replaced. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about this thing that's the hidden danger in the home, and that's these subterranean termites that people see tubes coming in their house. They use mud tubes. Mm-hmm. They're little the soldiers are teeny tiny little white guys in the tubes, and then you have swarms. So but the damage is huge.
Can be.
It takes a long time, but in some cases, classic signs of termite problems. Well, if you're looking for them.
Yeah. The obvious thing, if you're lucky, they're going to build a beautiful tube on the outside of the foundation.
Or you'll see it coming up the concrete into a weep hole,
or wall, just going right up along the side like a piece of caulk.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Normally, you don't get that lucky.
Right.
Okay. Normally, you're in there and you're wiping a wall down or something or cleaning, and all of a sudden there's like a little cavity in a tube. And you're like, "What's this?" And you hit it,
and you hit the wall, and it changes.
Yeah, and all of a sudden
the drywall collapses.
There's a little dirt there, and what it is they don't eat sheetrock, but they eat the paper off the sheetrock that holds the caulk together.
Right.
And what happens at that point is they turn around and they can be on the inside part of the sheetrock on the studs and can do structural damage. And because sheetrock damage is usually a little putty and you can fix it,
but not the 2x4s and studs that they're eating out.
But we'll notice them like that. That's one notice. It's like Alfred Hitchcock and the birds. I mean, they just fill the house.
Yeah, they'll swarm. They'll come out like a banshee. I get
calls with people sometimes. I mean, crying, just scared to death. I go out there, looking, oh, it's termite swarms, and I go, and this is bad. And it's like, well, these don't. The swarmers themselves are baby king and queens. They don't do any damage.
They only last a few minutes if they don't find a mate. They have to find a mate immediately. Right.
You see this massive swarm in a house.
Right.
And the percentage rate of the ones that survive are like 2 to 3%.
They're low. Yeah. But they're a mess. They get over everything.
Right.
And
they get everywhere.
You got to kill them.
Clean them up. And you'll see swarm castles, big mud thing coming out of the wall usually.
Right.
And that's another obvious sign. Sometimes you run in your vacuum. And I've ran into this with people to explain. Well, I thought my baseboard or my kids were playing with the car and rammed it into the baseboard. Well, look down there. It's very simple. If you see dirt mixed in with that damage,
You know, it's
it's
termite too.
termites.
Yep.
Because if it's a kid or a vacuum cleaner or something like that, it's going to be dented. The wood's still there.
Now, that's a question for you. You do a lot. There's a lot of homes being built now.
Correct.
Do you offer the pre-treatment before they because
Yes.
they leave that open area around the traps and the commode and the tub, and so you got a dirt area where they're
Where they're
connecting it,
going
right?
to leave.
So
Yeah.
you guys go in and pre-treat those
Well,
areas,
pre-treating is before the slab's poured.
right? You go in and hit all the points where the piping's going to
Correct.
be.
And you want to make sure if you're having them pre-treat, be very cautious. There is chemicals out there that last a year. There's chemicals that last 3, 5, 7, 10 plus. Termidor, and honestly, most companies have gone to Termidor because of how great it works.
Right.
Termites don't even know it's there. The molecules up, and it's the only chemical out there that guarantees total colony elimination. All your other ones are repellents, pushes them away. There's a few that are non-repellents, but they don't guarantee full elimination. Works extremely well. But if you do a pre-treat, you don't want to use your 1, 2, 3 year chemicals. You want to use one of the better chemicals.
Yeah, you want to use the long-lasting one because you're treating it before it's down. And what's the point? You want to make sure that those bath traps and commode traps and where plumbing's coming up is taken care of. Okay, so a lot of people don't like to see the bug guy pull up in front of their house, right, with walking out with hilty drills and pulling in hoses.
No.
But it's the way it is, and it's no big deal because nobody can help it. But what is the standard treatment for termites now? What would happen? What do you do?
Well, there's two different types once the house is built. You have your baiting programs, and you have your liquid treatments. Your liquid treatments, like I said, most companies using Termidor now. This one's out there. We go. You have concrete against the foundation with a liquid treatment.
Right.
You have to drill holes.
Right.
Now there's 3 different formulations of Termidor. I don't care which ones used; they're all just as good. But one of them allows us to drill the holes instead of 12 inches apart, allows us to go 18 because of the way it attaches to the soil and spreads.
That's pretty good because it used to be 12 inches.
It was 12 inches, and you had to do a 6-inch trench.
And sometimes you had to do even closer depending on the area you were trying to saturate.
But with this particular Termidor, you can go 18 inches on drill holes, and your trenching that you do around the house where it's not concrete but dirt up against the house, all your other chemicals, you have to do 6-inch by 6-inch trenching. The trenching just keeps the chemical from running off as you treat.
Yeah, I get that. I get it.
The one particular Termidor, the HE, what it is it has a surfactant added to it that makes it go deeper into the ground and locks to the soil for a longer period of time.
That's good.
And by 2-inch trenches instead of 6 by 6.
Right.
So we do less damage. That's how. And then when you go into the inside, Termidor is actually a good foaming agent.
Okay.
So we can foam where the plumbing is instead of going in with a hilty drill and drilling
that's
holes
so scary.
again all the plumbing.
Because
even your professional drill stops, things can fail.
Yeah, I mean, if it's PVC,
drilling around
that little light doesn't indicate anything if it's plastic, right?
Hex lines, you're dead.
You're right. You're going to go right through it. And there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, I know. Water come up. I get it. But I mean, that's the scary thing about doing that. But
and that's your chemicals.
Right.
Now, your baiting programs also work. The only thing you got to be very cautious. You have to trust the company that's doing it. It's a high dollar thing up front, and it's a high maintenance, a year maintenance.
Right.
If you decide not to keep it after 1, 5, whatever years, you may keep the pretty little station in the ground, but if it's not being worked,
right,
then it doesn't do any good.
It's not going to do any good.
And that's what's failed to be explained. I do have a couple homes on baiting, but it's usually where you walk on their back porch and they fish right off their back porch.
Right. Don't put your wood pile next to your house.
Wood piles away from the house. Make sure your grade level, which is your soil level, is below your brick line or stucco line or whatever your house is made of.
I used to tell people that if they use a lot of people used to use wood railroad ties and stuff as landscaping, and if you saw those getting rotted out beyond weathering and you opened them up and saw termites in them, you better start thinking about your house because that just attracts them in. So don't have anything wood close to your house.
You're going to have some.
I know, but my point is don't put wood piles next to the house. Don't put boards up next to the house. Right. So
And that's what we do see sometimes, and it's on inspections. I'll point that out to people. Say, I don't see any termites yet, but that's a big no-no. Get it out of there.
Yeah, that's
Put it
part
on
of
your back fence line back there in the back
that's
of the
part of
yard.
helping them out with information,
Correct.
right? Wow. So these and if that house has them, then I imagine the neighbors are sitting over there going,
You'll be
uh-oh.
surprised how many times I'm treating a house,
And then the
and they
neighbors
already know in their mind what I'm doing.
but they want to come over and now
They-
they're interested in your service
Right.
because they want to make absolutely darn sure it's too close to home. The way these
Right, and then
homes are built next to each
we'll
other.
inspect their house while we're out there, and then say, yeah, you have a problem, no, you don't,
Right.
whatever the situation. And A&M does recommend. We have a full-time staffed entomologist there that studies not just termites but insects in general, and it's highly recommended in our climate range for once a year having an inspection because they can do a little damage, but not necessarily a massive amount.
Okay. Wow. You do so much treatment for different things, but now we're getting into the rain. Now we're going to start seeing the mosquitoes. They're already bad, and I know you can somewhat treat those. You know what I'm
You
saying?
can.
But
Again, a lot of prevention on that.
And the preventives are
Don't have any standing water.
pour it out, dump
Get
it
rid
out,
of it.
get
I
rid
go
of it.
around houses and we'll find old oil bucket or
Full of larvae.
those little
Yeah.
5-gallon Home Depot buckets
Yeah.
full of water.
Right.
You look in it and you can see the larvae of the mosquitoes
Moving
swimming
around. Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, man, I can spray the doomsday here and I'm never going to get rid
Right.
of them
So
with this.
pour this out, dry them
And
out.
then obvious water leaks,
And the
things of that kind.
electrical things, if you're going to sit outside, they do pretty good. The mosquito zappers.
They help.
But they're not totally.
You're not in a large area, no.
No.
And an enclosed patio with a screened-in patio, yeah,
That's the best. That's the best way
Right.
to do it.
They have misting systems now. They are high dollar. They
Right.
work extremely well, but again, they're like the baiting.
I'd rather
program.
have that little small
Yeah.
screen set up so I
Well,
can
the
sit
screen
outside
is ideal,
and sit outside and enjoy the evenings without beating yourself up, right?
and you will this time of the year.
And you got West Nile stuff and all that to
Right.
consider. I wouldn't get too panicked
I think
about
last
that.
year with West Nile, I think the whole state of Texas, I think there was 2.
Yeah, but I'm just
cases
saying, we're repellent.
Repellent, the more DEET, the better.
I walk now. A lot of people are susceptible to them. They always love me, but I always wear my long plastic pants and a long sleeve shirt when I walk the dog in the morning because they always come out right when the sun's coming up and do their thing, and they don't bother me a bit. But that's because you're not attracting them to your carbon dioxide thing. So mosquitoes, man. All right, so we haven't talked about and let me take a 5-minute break here and let you catch your breath, or a 2-minute break. We want to thank these guys, CPR Cell Phone Repair, for being our exclusive sponsor. Yeah, let's give them a big round of applause. And listen, if you've got a broken tablet or it doesn't work, if you have an iPad, you have a smartphone, Samsung, iPhone, and you dropped it, you broke the glass, or it doesn't work, or these guys do great surgery on phones. And so they can come and take care of you, right, and fix it for, you won't believe how good their cost is. It's amazing. And you feel, you just walk out and you go, man, my phone's fixed. I have to go use the insurance, which, by the way, hardly doesn't cover anything anymore on these phones. They won't cover it. So, and they have a warranty that covers the part for X amount of days. So you get a little bit of help there with the part they replace. So they're in La Frontera, right over there next to Hooters and Jimmy John's. So that's good benchmarks for finding them over there. And they're extremely busy. And
my son went there one day, and it took probably about 15 minutes.
Yeah, not all that way, but I'm saying that it's really cool. They're good. So go check out CPR Cell Phone Repair at La Frontera in Round Rock, but their website, cellphonerepair.com. And so I want to thank those guys again. And now we're back to talking about bugs. All right, so not only do you treat all the outdoor pests, the termites, the fire ants, the carpenter ants, the bed bugs, you do mouse rat control.
Yes.
And that's an ongoing thing, I'm pretty sure.
It's Central Texas, East Texas.
Right. So I mean, you've got attics have to, and I guess when you do an inspection of a house for these things, you look for openings for them to get in, right? Correct. On the outside, especially around the attic, the eaves, whatever.
Roof joints,
vents that fell out, vent, up through the roof and everything. I see roof rats more than I care to admit.
They're the
uh,
biggest ones out here in Austin area.
and I've seen a couple here. I did get that one, by the way.
Well, good.
I got him. It took a while.
Yep.
He was smart little sucker,
Some of
man.
them are.
But I got him in a big trap, and I just put enough cheese in there and put it hard in there, so he had to work for it, and it
Try
got
peanut
him.
butter next time.
Well, we used that too on one, and the trap went, but it didn't get him. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Dad gummit. It took me like a month, but I got him.
Yep.
He was coming down the wall onto the patio and eating the fruit.
Mhm.
We have a bunch of garden stuff out there, and he was munching away. And
Free
so,
food, man.
so we had to get rid of all the plants, after we got him and replant because we don't want to mess with those, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, for obvious reasons. But that's baiting, right? Strictly
No.
baiting traps. What are you using today?
Basically, you can use baits. What I usually do, I'm real cautious about using baits. Baits work. Due to popular belief, though, there is no bait that makes them go outside and die.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear it all the time. Use baits makes them
It
go outside
dries
and die.
them out, and they go out and
No.
they wander out and
And
they fall
even the
over
bait
and they
manufacturers at our
they
seminars
dry
bust
out.
us.
They dry out in the inside and they
Yeah.
fall over
They
dead.
go outside,
out
crawl in the
all
grave.
the way. Actually, they die right where they're at.
Well, they're creatures.
Right.
Creatures, when they don't feel well, I mean, look at humans.
Right.
We don't feel well. We don't go out and lay in the sun.
No, they
we're gonna be
go find a
bothered.
nice little corner.
Yeah, and they die in a wall,
Right.
and you can never find them in most cases.
Right.
Also, bait rodents pick up the bait and move it to where they're at. We had a case years ago that they actually all the bait was put in this particular house correctly because I did an inspection on the company that did it for an insurance claim, and they did everything correct. This rodent picked up the bait in his little cheeks, just like a chipmunk, and moved it to a couch where they built a nest in. Grandkids 5 and 8 years old come over and they pick the cushions up in the kitchen or in the living room to beat each other up with, like kids do. And there was this beautiful turquoise candy underneath,
Oh.
and they started eating it.
Oh.
Luckily, there wasn't enough bait out for the weight of the child, but the children were hospitalized. Things like it's legal to use bait, but even if you put it out properly,
you have to be careful.
You have to be extremely careful.
So, what is the treatment? Trapping?
What we do is trapping, but we also seal the house. We look at the house. If the house is sealable, we put a bid on it and say, okay, we're going to seal every opening,
everything,
even possible openings in the future.
Right.
Because if you seal one they're going in, they're going to look for another one.
That's right.
And you seal them all. They usually come with a year warranty. You seal them, then you're going to obviously have some still in the house. So your attics, closets, things of that type, depending on cats and dogs, you put them throughout the house and in the attics. And you have to go out and do every 2-day follow-ups, especially the hotter it gets. And you empty the traps until you stop catching them. And then you wait a week, you go back out, check it again.
So it's common sense treatment in that you can trap in the attic and you can seal off and you can make it a process, right, of maintenance and keeping up with it.
And that's what we went to strictly, mainly, and most companies are doing
because these things are going to go to the easiest successful place they can go to get to what they need. So you need to seal those off and trap them and everything.
Correct.
Oh, I'm going to step back because I just thought of something I wanted to ask you because nobody's been able to answer this for me. Maybe you can.
Boy.
Why do fire ants build on top of air conditioners and electrical plugs and electricity?
They love the warmth.
Is that all it is? Is that all it is?
We get it all. In fact, when we do our regular maintenance programs, we actually treat around the slab that the ACs are on to keep them from going up onto them because they'll get in those little electrical boxes where they connect the ACs up and will short the whole unit out.
Oh, absolutely. Kill it.
Oh, yeah, it just kills the AC. In some cases, I mean, it overloads compressors.
I know. It tears up the whole unit.
You're talking new units sometimes.
Right.
And it's fire ants are just that bad. And then they get all that dirt. And what really does it is they get the dirt from the ground and pack it around all this electrical.
And it just dies. It just wears it.
It's like taking a piece of aluminum and putting it across a hot and a plus, and it just boom, and
it's gone. Right.
Yeah.
So same. I just thought I'd revert to that but you treat because you work out in Elgin, but you work all over Austin, so you do a lot.
5 counties.
Yeah, your whole 5 counties. So you're dealing with raccoons.
Yep. Any kind of
skunk.
rodent doesn't matter. Yep.
Now we're having this might be worth talking about from a safety standpoint. I saw one the other day, so I knew there was a problem. Possum during the day.
Correct.
And he wasn't looking too good. And skunk during the day, and raccoon during the day. That should be a classic warning sign.
Correct. It can be rabies.
Right.
Honestly, the majority of the time we're finding out when we have animals that are acting weird like that,
Right.
offset. Not always, but the majority of the time it's distemper.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
find out it's distemper, not rabies.
Right.
Be very cautious if you're ever bit by one and you go to kill it. A lot of people, hit them in the head and crush the head or something like that to kill them. Common sense. That kills
Right.
them quick. That's how they test them for rabies.
Right.
So if you hurt the head, they can't test it for
Right.
rabies, and you're going to go through a whole bunch of rabies shots.
Right. 21 to be
Yeah,
exact.
and it's no fun.
Right in the stomach. But my point is, when you see these things out during the day,
Correct.
that's not a good sign, regardless.
Right.
You don't want to take a chance. And actually, do you trap those things too? If
We
somebody
will
has
trap
them, if
them.
they get under their houses, a lot of houses in the country. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe some of the old pier and beams, correct, where they have crawl spaces.
But you also get possums, especially possums.
Yeah.
And skunks. They will actually dig under the foundation of a slab. I've seen it done.
Can I tell you a story?
Mm-hmm.
We went to Dallas about a year ago at Yvonne's grandfather's house. A bunch of cats were in the backyard, so we let him go out during the day and run.
Mm-hmm.
I let him out at night, thinking he was going after a cat. I was dead wrong. It was a skunk.
I'm sorry.
And he went after it, and he didn't get the full shot. It ended up hitting him on his back toward his rear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! We had to call the vet. We had to call the vet and treat him because we were coming back to Austin next day. We got him treated, but where he was there's a hole underneath his slab.
Mm-hmm.
For the patio part, and the skunk had dug that out and was
nice
living there.
Under there.
And so they had to come get him, the animal control, but they trapped it. And I'm glad it wasn't me, and they go pick it up in the trap and carry it off.
Let me tell you, skunks are no fun.
And, so I'm saying that just because you live in the city doesn't mean that these things aren't around. They can be anywhere.
What's Austin full of, no matter what side of town, is greenbelts.
Right.
And guess where they breed and thrive?
Correct.
Greenbelts.
Now, do you treat like larger animal pest problems like deer overrunning? Are you able to do anything about that?
They have a bunch of things.
But don't they have like deterrents, not to kill them, but just to keep them away? Oh,
they do. But
snake bait.
Snake baits. Let me tell you about the larger animals, like you're talking about deer and hogs, and also, and this will even go into snakes. And you go in there. I bought a bunch of this snake bait one time because I live out in the country.
And it's scary.
Honestly,
rattlesnakes are out there in copperheads.
I killed my 5th copperhead.
That's what I'm saying. They're huge.
And they're, with the weather and the rain we're getting, they're out a dime a dozen.
I know.
So be very cautious. And I mean, not just out in the country.
They're here.
In the city.
I've killed them.
And what you got to do is, I bought some of this stuff. It wasn't snake away, but something along the lines of snake away. And I said, I want to know what's in this. And so I got a label of it and ordered it and looked at it, opened it. I was like, this is a familiar smell. It's mothballs. Crushed mothballs. They take a gallon container, put so much crushed mothballs in a liter. Read the label. That's what it is.
Really?
And some of them have a few other things in it. But I said, well, if that works, I wonder if mothballs would work. I went out and around my house. We stopped seeing snakes around the yard. And I mean, I didn't put a ton.
Just a few. Because they're pretty powerful.
Out, but you got to be cautious when you have animals, because if they eat it, they can make them sick.
Oh, yeah, they can get real sick.
But I have a dog. He turned his nose up to it, decided he didn't like it, so I put it out.
Right.
And I still see snakes, but they're away from the house.
Right.
So most of those things are mothballs. Cayenne pepper with cats and deer and stuff, and it works a little bit, not that good. Fox urine. Problem is you have to constantly add it.
Yeah, because it's always...
And it goes away.
Right.
And the best thing, honestly, I have seen for deer is they sell a sprinkler system with an electric eye. That deer goes walking up to that plant where you have it, and that sprinkler goes tap, 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 tap.
The motion texture it up and starts shooting.
I have seen it work, and it is amazing.
That's cool.
And after a short period of time, the deer won't go anywhere near it.
Right.
Because they don't know where it's coming from, and just all of a sudden they got attacked.
Yeah, so the snake thing is bigger than people think.
This year it is.
I know, and I used to live out in the country a long time ago, and I don't think people understand how many snakes there are.
There's a lot of
when you start walking around the woods. I mean,
you can walk right past one, not even know it.
That's true too.
Especially in trails around a lot of ivy, a lot of shrubbery that's not
so
kept
be
up.
careful. It's that time of year. And call you, obviously, right? Do you mess with them?
Yeah, I mess with them. I
You
don't
but,
enjoy them, but yeah, I mess
but if
with
you
them.
have to,
If somebody has, and they're covered under our rodent agreement from getting in the house and garages too.
which is awesome.
Yeah, and I have had to go in and pull rattlesnakes out of garages.
All right. So before we close out, because we probably wore everybody out on stuff, you guys, if you need pest control in the Austin surrounding area, they've been in business over 30 picking years. He knows his business, and hopefully when this show goes back out on archive, you're going to have it. You're going to have it. Say, go check out my show. Listen to all things we discussed. And real quickly, homeowner calls you. Homeowner calls Randy, you. I'm interested in making sure my house gets treated. I'm talking about basic treatment for whatever, general maintenance program. What is your go ahead and do the consulting. Go ahead and do the consulting around the house. Do you have a basic control?
The basic one is the first time we do service, we have to get in the house. We have to get in the house. Because we don't know what's in the wall. I can treat the outside, not the inside. It
doesn't matter.
Make it worse.
It doesn't matter.
Make it worse. Because now,
just do it here.
So what's done is we do an inside and an exterior treatment.
Okay.
Now, with the type of chemicals that we have now, baits and things, and targeting different times of the year, different things, wet season, dry season, and those kind of things. And after the first service, we can do a perimeter treatment, which is what you're normally used to seeing, the base of the house, around the window, leaves, overhangs, things of that type. We have a general bait that we put out, and depending on time of year, like right now, we're using a lot of pre-cricket baits.
Yes, I mean
more so than general.
Okay.
Certain times of the year we use more fire ant. Then we won't even use cricket bait some time of the year because they're not an issue. Why use it? And we know what's going on at that time of the year. Then we look at, oh gosh, it's raining today. Well, there's some chemicals you can't use, but there's some chemicals that are water activated.
And you could, that's right. So the water activates, right.
So a lot of it's just knowledge of what you're using. And you do the perimeter. After our initial service, the majority of our customers, we don't have to set foot in the house with a chemical. Now,
yeah,
if they fall into hand, like sugar and feral ants.
Yeah,
you'll very outbreak time, we have to go in the house.
Yeah,
but what's nice is it's a general liquid bait that we use, and it's very little of it. And
you don't see it. You can put it under. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, and it works extremely well. So we go in and see if you have an outbreak of scorpions. Obviously, we want to go in.
Oh yeah, that's something I didn't talk about. You see a lot of those out there.
Those things are fun. And it depends on what you're seeing. Sometimes people call and say, "I'm seeing this funny insect. I don't know what it is." Well, guess what? Now with the world of phones, they can click a picture, send it to us, I can look at it, blow it up on my computer or on my own iPhone, look at it and say, "Oh, that's an earwig, a scorpion, whatever it is," and then say, "Well, you know what? Where are you seeing them? Okay, that's general. Are you finding any dead ones? No. Okay, well, we need to come in. We'll go out there, go in the house, inspect it, and then when we do a treatment on those cases, we go to their harbor instead of just going spray, hit here, hit there, and go. These target baits, all those type of treatments and the type of chemicals we have at hand, if you know your arsenal and you're not just going in with the same thing, you know what to use for what, and you don't have to use a lot of it.
Right, and so part of your ongoing maintenance is, hey, we give you this kind of warranty thing at the beginning, and then we also have these ongoing maintenance programs.
Right, and if there's a problem, we'll give
and if we have a spot for you, come back and work on it, you just set an appointment. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, and I want to talk about it because you've been experiencing these, is the bees.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. A ball of bees showed up out here in a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Rusty went the other way. They were forming their deal, so they were more focused in where they landed to create their hive, right? And they were oh my God, because we've got these African European bees now, and matter of fact, you just sent me a cool video of some really pissed off what you think were mainly The
Yeah,
Africanized
they
bees,
mixed
they were
pretty-
mixed pretty good.
Yeah, they weren't just a 20-30% mix. They were a 50 to 80% mix.
And they were super aggressive on you guys in your bee season.
Correct. We hit our phones just to take video because it was one of the worst cases I've seen. Long story short, what happened is we get a call from a homeowner and he goes, I got this ball of bees that showed up on a tree between my neighbor's house and mine. I said, oh, well, more than likely they'll be gone in the morning, they're traveling, they're resting the night, and move on. We can talk in the morning. And he goes, yeah, but, they are flying around erratically, and they've already stung the dog. And I said, well, your dog getting near me? He said, no. And I said, well, stay away from them. I'm in Florida. Let me drive by real quick and just look. Because more than likely they'll be morning. Because you don't want to kill bees if you don't have to.
Right, exactly.
And in most cases like that, you leave them alone. If
they'll go away.
The next day, they've moved on to a new hive.
Right.
Because they're not going to build a hive on a tree limb.
Right. They're going to find the cover.
And so a lot of times they won't only go on. But in this case, if I pull up, the next door neighbor had come out, saw them, took 2 cans of wasp freeze, walked up, and as I pulled up, I jumped out of my truck and I said, don't spray. And as I said it, she hit it. This beehive, as you can see on the video, explodes. I mean, it looks like you set a stick of dynamite off.
It does. It's crazy.
And we actually had police officers and EMS involved, where we had to shut down. I forget, it was 4, 5, 6 blocks, and people 4 or 5 blocks away were getting hit by these bees that got pissed. And you can see how they moved over to the scouts had already found the hole. They were in the process of moving into the customer that called us. We found out. And these were Africanized, not 100%, but they were definitely Africanized.
Because if you watch the video, you hear them.
Oh, you can see them in the video. That's what
they're so aggressive. They are pounding on you guys.
Oh, we're in our suits and they're just dive bombing.
So I guess my point is that if you guys see bees on the side of your house and they're looking for trying to build a nest inside that wall, don't spray them. And actually, if they're Africanized bees, you don't have to necessarily do anything to get them to come after you. That's the difference. A honeybee's not going to do that. But these bees, if they see you and they'll bump you.
If you start getting popped by them where you're walking, all of a sudden, pow, they pop you. But they don't see you, they just run into you. That is a warning mechanism, mainly by Africanized. European bees will do it if you're real close to them,
right,
but you already know you're there. But Africanized bees can still be down the street.
Right.
He doesn't like where you're at.
Right.
Comes.
It's over.
And as kids growing up, we always heard, we're jumping in the pool, swim on the other end, come up, and you're fine. European bees, true. Africanized bees, partial Africanized bees, the nature of Africanized bees is they don't forget.
Right.
They will sit there. If you jump in a body of water, they will hover for 30 minutes, an hour over that water till you come out. You pop your head up for a breath of air, they hit you.
Right.
And they don't, not one. You have to run. And you have to keep running. Get in a building, get in a car. And if you're in a car, if it's a true Africanized hive, if you're in a car, they will literally cover the car and start coming through the air vents.
Right.
Best thing to do, I don't care if it's if it's in the middle of winter and it's already cold, you won't have that problem. But if they're starting to come in, first thing you do is get in the car, you got them on you, start that car, get it in the AC wide open, and take off.
Right.
Right. Usually they will follow in attack mode up to 2 or 3 football fields.
That's just
before they
crazy.
back off.
That's just crazy.
European bees won't go across.
No, and your regular hives, unless you disturb it, are going to be fine. But
yeah,
my point is, you don't know. So why take the chance? Because if you don't have anywhere to go, if you don't have anywhere to go, and your body reacts wrong, you're a goner. And we know this already happened in Elgin not too long ago.
Gosh, I think it was 07, 08. A gentleman in his upper 70s, early 80s was on his riding order doing what he did every weekend.
And he got hammered.
And the beehive was actually in a neighbor's yard in a stump a good ways away. They didn't like the mower. He was attacked. Fire department went in, pulled him out. You could see a human trace of bees. They went in, got him off, and unfortunately, the man didn't survive.
Yeah.
And it was a very bad situation.
So they're getting more prevalent, and there are more of these European bees are being Africanized, or they're partial.
So they're mixing
possible, you try to save them because that's, you know,
I've
it
got
depends.
guys that will come out.
That's what I'm saying. You'll say, look, I think these can be worked with, so you'll call your B guys to take them. But if it's really,
if they're deep in the wall, or if they're
you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice.
Yeah, you have to kill them.
You don't have a choice.
Or if they're 100% Africanized, in most cases, you got to kill them.
You got to.
Yeah.
The
mixed ones, not necessarily. You can relocate.
So just stay away from them, and if you, you know, just have a plan.
Yeah. Run.
You know, and don't get too far away from the trail where you can't get, you know, if you're worried about it and you're highly susceptible to these things, you know, you need to have that thing with you.
And one thing I do want to point out that's very important is when it comes to rodents, when we're talking about rodents.
Okay, cool.
When you see them, something odd, you know, daytime, you know, like you said, raccoons, all those things, do not approach them, even if they're dead.
Right.
Call animal control. Animal control will take care of it in the cities. Counties have them.
Yep.
If it's something they don't take care of, they'll remove the one that's there.
Right.
If it keeps coming back and it's never there when they show up, that's where you need to call.
Right.
We need to see if they're nesting on the head. If you keep seeing them, they're nesting at your house somewhere.
Right.
But do not approach them. You see a dead bat on the ground, don't pick it.
No, because that's usually
bats are one of the #1 carriers
of rabies. That's right. And
leave them alone.
And if you see a dead one, you need to probably call animal control.
Call animal control.
Let them come out and pick it up, and let them come pick it up. And if they need to put a sign out to let you know the possibility of a bat here, they'll post signs.
They'll do whatever's necessary. And if they,
right.
We send off bats all the time.
That's good.
For rabies checks, and it's not as prevalent to rabies as you think when you look at the population of them, but they are the #1 carrier.
Well, you've been a very informative guest tonight. This is something you could talk about for hours, literally.
I've done seminar talks that just go on way beyond.
Listen, guys, if your house, where you live, if you're not happy or you're not satisfied with your pest control company, you want a family-owned business to come out, guys, Percival, Randy's friend, Allstarr, ALLSTARR, Pest.com. Check them out on their website. Call them. They'll be happy to come out and walk around with you. They care about your home, and I would say because they're family owned, I always say there's a difference between ownership in a company and working for a big company, right? And that's right. And I'm saying there's a lot of good ones, but isn't it cool you can deal with a family-owned business that's been doing this over 30 years, knows what you guys need to call Randy. Randy's always available, and if he's not, his son is. It's family-owned, so they get it on. And he'll up, and they'll answer the phone right away, and you go look at their website. But they also have a YouTube channel. We'll link it on your player, right, so they can see that bee video. Because even though it's only a minute and 4 seconds, it's going to scare the crap out of you. I put some cool music with it. To make it worse.
And I had a professional guy who speaks call me for that video.
Did he?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well,
it'll be up. It'll be up. He can share it, do whatever he wants with it. It's got your logo on it, and it's got your deal on it. So you guys give them a call. Check out their website again, Allstarr, ALLSTARR, Pest.com. Go check out Randy. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
You have a good time?
Most of the time.
It's pretty cool, but how about the show?
Oh, the show's great.
This is going to be good for you. You got a lot of information to share out. So.
I could sit for hours talking about you.
Well, guys, the Pretty Bird Internet Broadcast Network is here every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. with Austin Business. I call them the Small Medium Business Show because we like to have them come on. But the cool thing is it's ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. Because we have what they call the after show, which is on demand. Not only will it be on my YouTube channel, but I go out to a company called Fubix, and I build a custom player with colors that match their website. They get links and pictures and billboards in there. It's all links to different stuff they do. So they'll have their own interactive player they can do anything with. They can share it a year from now. And all this information, I promise you, will still be pertinent a year from now, 2 years from now, because none of this changes. There's always a need for pest control. So, any final thoughts?
Just be cautious with the animal. Pick up dead bats. That's the biggest thing we're seeing right now. And if you see a snake, bats, dead
advice. Be safe. You guys have a good evening. We'll see you around the corner next Tuesday night. Good night, everybody.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Hurdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network. Be sure to check out Allstarr Pest Control surrounding and working in the Austin area. That's www.allstarr, that's ALLSTARR, pest.com. Thanks for listening.